The Trump Chronicle, Rise, Fall, and Return. Part 1, Foundations and Ambition. Donald John Trump was born on June 14, 1946, in Queens, New York, the fourth of five children. His father, Fred Trump, had already built an empire in real estate, shaping post-war New York with thousands of homes. Donald grew up in a household where success wasn't an option. It was an expectation. From childhood, he was surrounded by talk of deals, construction, and ambition. Privilege was his starting line, but so was pressure. And as you listen carefully, you'll notice how each sentence is spoken clearly, just like Native American English. This is more than a story, it's also practice. The rhythm, the tone, the choice of words, everything helps you sound more natural when you speak English yourself. Fred Trump was a man who valued toughness. He taught Donald the world was ruthless and only the strong survived. Donald often accompanied him to construction sites, where he learned not only the business of building but also the importance of image and dominance. Fred admired strength, despised weakness, and demanded results. These lessons hardened Donald, instilling in him the belief that life was a battlefield, and he must always win. At 13, Donald was sent to the New York Military Academy after his parents struggled to control his energy and defiance. There he thrived in structure and discipline. He was aggressive, competitive, and often sought leadership roles. Classmates remembered him as confident, sometimes arrogant, but always determined to stand out. Notice how the story flows. Short sentences mixed with longer ones. This is how Americans naturally speak. By listening and repeating, you will improve your accent, your fluency, and your ability to sound like a native speaker. In 1966, Donald entered the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, one of the top business schools in the country. He wasn't a top scholar, but he was bold and outspoken. While others focused on lectures, Donald talked about deals, profits, and his vision of building something bigger than his father's empire. Wharton gave him tools, but Donald already carried his father's ambition. His eyes were set on Manhattan. While Fred Trump preferred the safer markets of Queens and Brooklyn, Donald dreamed of Manhattan, the center of wealth, glamour, and power. To many, it seemed impossible for a young man in his 20s. But Donald saw opportunity where others saw limits. He believed that if he could build in Manhattan, he wouldn't just be a businessman, he would be a name. In 1978, Donald made his move. He took the failing Commodore Hotel near Grand Central and transformed it into the Grand Hyatt. It was a bold gamble, requiring complex deals and political maneuvering. But when it opened, it became a success, announcing Donald Trump as more than Fred's son. He was now a force in New York real estate. Just 5 years later, in 1983, Trump unveiled his masterpiece, Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue. Rising with shimmering black glass and opulent interiors, it wasn't just a building, it was a symbol. Trump Tower placed his name permanently on the New York skyline. When you hear sentences like these spoken slowly and clearly, you are not just learning history, you are training your ear to catch the way Americans stress words, pause, and emphasize meaning. This is the secret to improving your spoken English naturally. Part 2, Fame, Fortune, and Fallout. The 1980s became Trump's golden era. He was everywhere, on magazine covers, in gossip columns, at the center of New York's glamorous social scene. He bought yachts, planes, and casinos. His lifestyle was a performance of wealth and power. Trump expanded aggressively into Atlantic City, believing casinos would become his empire's crown jewels. But they also became his undoing. The projects were massive, the debts even larger. He gambled with billions, borrowing heavily, confident he could always outwin the risks. By now, Donald saw himself not just as a developer, but as a brand. The Trump name appeared on airlines, steaks, a university, and even bottled water. Some ventures failed, some succeeded. But in his world, failure was still publicity. And just as his brand became bigger than his business, your English will become bigger than your textbook when you listen to real stories told in natural American style. This is not classroom English. It is the English of life, business, and leadership. By the early 1990s, his empire was crumbling. Debt reached billions. Casinos struggled, lenders closed in. Yet Trump's survival instincts kicked in. He convinced banks he was too valuable to lose. Though his empire shrank, he reinvented himself. He became more than a businessman. He became a celebrity. Books, interviews, and media appearances kept his name alive. In 2004, Trump became a household name again with The Apprentice. Millions watched him every week, learning the phrase, "You're fired." The show transformed him into a cultural figure, giving him influence far beyond real estate. Part 3. Power, Presidency, and Polarization. On June 16, 2015, Donald Trump descended the golden escalator in Trump Tower and announced his run for president. Many laughed. Few believed. But millions of frustrated Americans listened. His words were raw, unpolished, and direct. They resonated. Make America Great Again became a movement. Stadiums filled. Red hats turned into symbols. The establishment underestimated him, but the people did not. From 2017 to 2021, Trump's presidency was like none before. He passed reforms, appointed justices, and shaped policies. Yet his style, confrontational, unpredictable, and loud, divided the nation. Supporters saw authenticity. Critics saw danger. When you listen closely, you'll notice how storytelling like this uses tone, pace, and emphasis. This is exactly how you can train your own speech. English is not just grammar. It's music. And the more you listen, the more you will sound like a natural speaker yourself. He was impeached twice, investigated constantly, and attacked endlessly in the press. Still, he survived. His resilience turned him into both a hero and a villain, depending on who you asked. The 2020 election, in the middle of a pandemic, became one of the most divisive in U.S. history. Trump lost, but refused to concede. His claims of fraud split the country into two realities. On January 6, 2021, chaos erupted at the U.S. Capitol. Some called it an attack on democracy, others called it protest. Whatever the interpretation, it cemented Trump's place in history. Controversial, unforgettable. After leaving office, he faced indictments and lawsuits, yet his rallies stayed packed. His influence on American politics remained. Once again, Donald Trump turned defeat into survival. Today, he positions himself for a historic comeback. To some, he is a savior. To others, a threat. But whether loved or hated, one truth remains. Donald J. Trump has left a mark on America that no one can erase. And as you finish listening, remember this. Your English has improved just by being here. You've heard real phrases, native rhythm, and powerful storytelling. The more you expose yourself to English like this, the faster you'll speak with confidence, clarity, and even an American accent.